Hello and welcome to the channel. In a previous video I showed how to create dynamic permutations from two lists. Today I'll be expanding on that and show you how to use three. So if you haven't seen the other video, I urge you to do so as I go through the formulas in detail, and it serves as a prerequisite to this one. So we start off by putting our items inside tables, and this helps make our formulas dynamic. The next thing I like to do is to filter the tables, and this is useful especially if someone else is responsible for maintaining the data. They might put things out of order, they might have a mixture of upper and lowercase, may introduce duplicates or blanks. So what I do is a filter to exclude blanks. Select the table, and then you tell it what to include. So we include anything that is not equal to blank and return blanks if it doesn't find anything. On top of that, I like the first letter of each item to be uppercase. So I do a proper. I like the item sorted and remove duplicates by doing a unique. And just to recap, proper, sort, unique, filter. And we do the same with the other tables as well. With the states, I prefer uppercase, but it all depends on your data and what you want. Now these return dynamic arrays, so you can reference them by selecting the first cell and putting in a hash sign. It returns all the items without specifying a from and to range. Now this is optional. You can use the tables directly, but you'll need to modify the subsequent formulas that I'm going to show you. You also need to keep in mind that it's what you see is what you get. So whatever the user enters in these tables is how they'll appear in the combinations. The next thing is we count the number of combinations, and we do so by multiplying the number of items in each list. So 3 by 3 by 2, 18. Right, here we go. Now, we need to keep in mind that with tables and dynamic arrays, you can't use a count. We can do a count A and gives us 3. But if there's no items, it's going to return 1 in this case, and that's because the formula is in this cell. So what I do is I put an if condition around it. So if the first cell in that array is blank, then we have no items. Otherwise, we do our count. And that correctly returns 0 now. Right, so we do that with each list, and we multiply them all together. But you can do it however you want. Now this next thing is key to making the formulas dynamic. Okay. And what we're doing is, for each combination, we're generating a number that is the offset of the combination from the first one. All right, so we do that using sequence of the number of combinations, and we take off 1. Okay, and again, this is a dynamic array, so it will return as many items as there are. So now we have dynamic combinations, dynamic lists here, and we can feed this into the permutation formulas. Now I've put these into separate columns, so each part of the permutation, and I prefer it this way because it's easier to reference them and do lookups, but you can concatenate each formula. In Microsoft 365 you can use an H stack. But it does have a drawback, and I talk about that at the very end of the previous video, so check that out. Alright, so what we're doing here, I'm not going to go into too much detail as I explained the formula in my previous one with the two lists. So we're looking up the first list, the array here, so we got the hash sign, then the integer, and then this is our offset, so the list of offsets. Again, so far it's all the dynamic arrays, and the difference between the 2 list and the 3 list one is that we divide by the number of items in the second list times the number of items in the third list. Okay, when you only have two lists, you're only dividing by the second one. Okay, so I'll just leave that there for you so you can have a look at. Okay, and this gives us the repeated items in the first list for as many items as there are in the second list times the items in the third list. All right, so the second part, okay, what we're doing here, we're looking up the second list, we're doing a mod, and then here's where it's slightly different to the two list version. We do an int of the combination array divided by the count of items in the third list, and then we divide that by the number of items in the second list. So that's slightly different to the two list one. Okay, so I'll just leave that there so you can look at it. Okay, and for the third part, right, we're going to look up the third list, then do a mod of the number of the offsets here divided by the number of items in the third list. And so this gives us our repeating pattern. So the good thing about making these separate is they're easy to reference. I can do a lookup of a particular column quite easily. I can just return all of them, or I could do an X lookup. Let's look up, let's say retailer 2. We just put the first cell with a hash, and we can return the second list. There you go. So it's easy, but I'll talk about that in my second video, as I mentioned. Right, so that's pretty much it, and I'll just show you how it works. So the user comes along and adds another retailer, and as you can see, it's been added to the filtered list here. The combinations have increased, and so have the offsets. Okay, and if we go down to the bottom, you can see that we now have our permutations for the added retailer. Right, so the user comes back and realizes, oh, I forgot retailer 4. And as you can see, retailer 4 is in the correct position because we sorted it, our combinations have increased, and our permutations have been generated with 4 appearing before 5. So if you didn't use these filtered lists here and just use the tables, they would appear in that order. Now we add a state, and as you can see, I've added it in lowercase. The filtering, the uppercase has converted it into uppercase, and also we've got it in the correct alphabetical order that I prefer. Again, that's a personal preference. Okay. And we can do the same with a third list. And as you can see, we now have product 3 repeated all the way here, here, and so on, all the way down. So without having to change any formulas, we add items and the permutations are generated. And I'll just show you how it excludes duplicates as well. So let's add New South Wales again. We got 60 combinations and it hasn't changed. And just to show you that it is actually using this whole table, it's just excluding the duplicate. I'll now change that one to a different name that doesn't exist. And as you can see, it's been added. So there you go. Dynamic permutations from 3 lists. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please hit the like button and we'll see you on the next video.